How's it going, everybody? Delightful Eon here. I've kind of developed an interesting proof. I don't want to say it's a proof, but a premise that I believe is really interesting when you really pull it apart and analyze it in a certain way. So let me lay out the three premises that I've come up with. 1 and 2 are kind of redundant. You could argue they're kind of the same thing, but I think it's important to break these out as separate arguments. So premise 1 is that you exist. Would you agree with me on that? You exist. Now, some people get into these kind of word games and where, well, how do we know we exist? We could be a brain in a vat. But the point is you exist in some form. Whether you're a brain in a vat or you're really here or whatever we really are, you exist. So most people grant me premise 1. So premise 2, which is kind of the same thing as premise 1, is that the possibility of you existing was greater than 0, evident by the fact that you exist now. Let me say that again just so that you understand what I was saying. The possibility of you existing is greater than 0, evident by the fact that you exist now. So obviously that's kind of a circular kind of argument. Well, of course the possibility is greater than 0 because I exist right now. So most people agree with premise 2, which is kind of the same thing as premise 1, but not really. I kind of break it out because premise 3 is really going to take home this point and really kind of expose what I'm trying to get at here. So premise 3 is that infinitely far into the past, the very moment of existence or the very first cause, whatever it was, the possibility of you existing was greater than 0, because if it was ever exactly 0, infinitely far into the past, you would not exist now. So what this means, in my view, and I'd be hard-pressed for anyone to disagree with these premises, is that in some way, shape, or form, the possibility of you existing was contained within the fabric of the very beginnings of the universe. I mean, I believe it would have to be, right? So somehow, despite the universe or God or whatever is really going on here, somehow the beginning contained every single possible state within it, including the possibility that you exist. So it seems kind of circular, but I think it's really not, because it would be possible for you to not exist, right? Well, we don't know because you exist now. But this kind of gives credence to this further argument that maybe all possibilities are really playing out. Maybe the reason it seems circular is because we're in an infinite system where all possibilities are being generated. Therefore, this kind of argument, well, that's a circular argument. But is it really, though? What if all possibilities are playing out at all times? Then maybe it's not as circular anymore because, hey, it either was a possibility or it wasn't. 2 plus 2 could have equaled 5. Was that ever a possibility? Well, no, it wasn't ever a possibility. Okay, so then not every single possibility is playing out. Only ones that are logical. Only ones that make sense. So I think this is kind of an interesting argument to show that in some way, shape, or form, you were always there. Now, you weren't there in your current form, maybe, I don't know, but I wouldn't believe it. You weren't there in your current form, but your current form's possibility was contained within that beginning state, if that makes sense. So this is kind of an idea I've been toying around with for a little bit, Does this argument make sense or not? I kind of think it does. I think there's something here with the fact that either all possibilities are being Sorry about that. I had an alarm go off. It's either all possibilities are being generated or, maybe some possibilities are being generated, only the ones that make sense. I'm not really sure exactly on the specifics of how this would work, but it seems like a coherent argument to me. It seems like Well, yeah, I mean, the possibility that I exist must have been greater than zero, even going back to the beginning of time, because I'm here now, which means that in some way, shape, or form, the possibility of my current being was contained within the beginning. So in a way, the beginning and end have to be kind of the same thing, you know? Maybe this is true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Just an idea. Just a theory I had. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you like this kind of stuff.